Hi everyone! Today we're making keto vegan focaccia. What makes focaccia so great is that golden trinity of rosemary, olive oil and salt. So I've been experimenting quite a lot on keto bread this year, and I have to say this bread might be my favorite so far. So if you like my other bread recipes, you're gonna love this one. And also we're gonna make it with coconut flour. So if you're one of those people who has issues with almond flour, for instance, if you have allergies or it doesn't agree with you, this bread is for you. And if you have no problems with almond flour at all, this will be another great bread recipe you can have in your repertoire. This bread is fluffy and moist and is packed with flavors. I can't wait to show you how to make it. The ingredients you need. So the first thing we need is, of course, coconut flour. This will be the foundation of our bread. And then we need some psyllium husk powder. Make sure you get it in a powder form. This is slightly coarser like breadcrumbs, but still very, very fine. And for this bread, we want it to be softer and more moist. So we're going to add in some ground flax seeds. If you don't have flax seeds, you can use ground chia seeds. And then we need baking powder and then baking soda as well. So we need both of them for this recipe. And then we're going to add in some yeast as well. So unlike the crusty buns, I would say this is not optional. I say definitely add yeast to this recipe. So it enhances the flavor, but also help the bread to become more airy. So what I have here is the instant yeast. So this is a type of yeast you don't need to activate it with sugar and water. You can just add directly into your dough. And then we need plenty of olive oil. So olive oil is one of the defining flavors in focaccia. So make sure you use good quality olive oil. And then we're going to need some vinegar. We're going to use the vinegar to activate the baking powder and baking soda. So if you've been making my crusty buns, you'll be familiar with this process. It's very, very simple and straightforward. You can use any white vinegar in your kitchen. And then we need some good salt. So I'm using Maldon salt here. It's one of my favorite salts. So it's very flaky and the flavor is really sweet and mild. You can use Himalayan salt if you want to. So make sure you use good quality salt. No table salt is allowed for this recipe, okay? And then last but not least, we need some fresh rosemary. It's so fragrant and so wonderful. We're going to sprinkle plenty of it on top of a focaccia. So this is it. This is all the ingredients you need. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is to get your kettle ready. We'll need some hot water. And then we're going to add in our dry ingredients first. So the first thing we're going to pop in is our coconut flour. So I've got 100 grams of coconut flour here. Pop that in. And then we're going to add in our psyllium husk powder. So I've got 20 grams here. So make sure you measure everything. That's your best bet. So the psyllium husk powder, that goes in. And with the ground flaxseed, we're going to add in 1 tablespoon. Just add it straight in, pop that in. And then we're going to add in 1 teaspoon of baking powder and then half a teaspoon of baking soda. To measure half teaspoon roughly, that goes in. And with our instant yeast, we're going to add in 1 teaspoon. So it's 1 teaspoon here. And then we need a generous amount of salt. So I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of the Maldon salt. So the Maldon salt is quite flaky, so if you're using finely ground salt, you probably only need half a teaspoon. So that's all of our dry ingredients. We're going to just give it a quick mix in a mixing bowl. I've been told off of not mixing my dry ingredients for my bread recipes. So here you go. Give it a nice mix. I think it helps anyway. So that's the dry ingredients mixed. And now onto the wet ones. Okay, now we're going to create the vinegar water. So we're going to add 2 cups of freshly boiled hot water into this bowl. Okay, so that's 2 cups. And then we're going to add in 2 teaspoons of vinegar. Just pop that in and give it a quick stir. So from my experience, I'm using up pretty much the full amount for this bread. But still, when it comes to liquid, you want to be as careful as possible. So you want to add a small amount of water at a time. And now let's create the dough. So I'm going to create a little well here. And I'm going to pour in my olive oil. So I've got 4 tablespoons of olive oil here. And I'm going to take my water, just a small amount at a time. And I'm going to add it to my mixture here. You can see it kind of foaming up a little bit and start mixing. Okay. So obviously we need more water, so I'm going to scoop in more, just small amount at a time. I'm going to use my hands and be very careful. The dough is quite hot. So I'm doing it by hands today, but if you have a mixer, it will be your best friend today. This bread is so easy when you do it with a mixer. And it's really important that you knead this bread, not just mixing it, but kneading it. And coconut flour, as I'm experimenting, it takes on a tremendous amount of liquid. So you need sufficient liquid for the dough to work well. And just keep kneading and add small amount of water at a time. Okay, so I've been kneading this dough for a good maybe 10 minutes. It's really worth putting time kneading it. Let's do a test. So what you do is to grab a small amount and just roll it in your palms and then have a look. So it's not going to be super smooth like regular bread dough, but very close. As you can see that it's really soft and moist and warm in your hands, and there's a certain bounce to it. So it shouldn't be hard or crumbly. So when you reach this stage, your dough is ready. So I'm going to just gather the dough and then shape it into a ball, roughly, and then pop it back into the mixing bowl. And now I'm going to cover it with a moist towel and leave it to rest. So now we're going to leave the dough to rest for an hour. So we're not expecting the dough to rise. What we're doing is allowing the dough to relax. So the yeast and the thyme will help with that. And trust me, I have baked this bread without the resting process, and the bread came out a lot denser. Okay, so your patience will be greatly rewarded. Okay, so this is what it looks like after resting for 60 minutes. So there's no change in size at all. We're not expecting it to rise, but the dough is a lot more relaxed. And now we're going to get it ready to go into the oven. So I've got a salad bowl here, that's oven safe, and it's perfect size for this bread. And on top of it, I'm going to place a layer of baking sheet, just to make sure the bread won't stick. Give it a little press. And then I'm going to drizzle some olive oil. So generous amount of olive oil at the bottom. And then I'm going to take my dough and just place it in the center and press it down and start spreading it. So you will see the edges break up. It's normal. Don't panic. So this dough is not super smooth. It's not supposed to be. And all you have to do is just spread it evenly into your tray. You know, if you see gaps, just pinch it together. It's perfectly fine. And when you're happy with the distribution, we're going to start to make these little dimples on the surface. This is a classic focaccia look. You've got these dimples on the surface of the bread. And what it is, you have pockets of olive oil that goes in. So you have different depths of the bread. It makes it so delicious. Okay, I think I'm happy with this. And now we're going to drizzle generous amount of olive oil on top. Oh, looking so good. And all you have to do is kind of just spread it to cover the bread evenly. Make sure it covers the entire bread. That looks great. And now we're going to sprinkle our rosemary. So just pull the little leaves out and then just sprinkle on top of our bread. It smells so wonderful. So I'm going to put plenty of it on top. And then I'm going to just take these little sprigs of rosemary and then just plant them nicely on the bread. Probably put 4 on top, maybe 1 in the center. Okay, 1 more here. Okay, so our dough is ready to go into the oven. And now the focaccia is ready to go into a 170-degree preheated oven, and we're going to bake it for about 50 to 60 minutes until it's golden brown. And to make it even more outrageously delicious, I'm going to drizzle more olive oil. This is going to just be amazing. And now it's time to eat. So there you go. Here's our focaccia style bread, keto, vegan, and gluten-free. I wish you could smell my kitchen right now. It's absolutely outrageous. So let me show you the texture here. It's really soft and wonderful. I mean, just look at this bread. It's just so moist and wonderful. Oh, it smells so good. So good. This is food for the soul. This is definitely my favorite keto bread so far. So good. Look at the texture. And rosemary and olive oil, it's just a match made in heaven. It's just so good. I can't stop eating it. So for the entire bread, we use 100 grams of coconut flour. And that's pretty much all the carbs that's coming from. I mean, all the other ingredients, they're close to no carbs. And psyllium husk has got close to 0 net carbs. So let's say if a portion is a quarter of a bread, which is really filling. So it's about 5 carbs per portion. And I think it's totally worth it. And in terms of the size, let's say if you have a larger oven and want to make a bigger bread, you can. But I recommend that you make it larger, but not thicker. I mean, keto bread really takes time to cook. So you want to make sure the center is cooked through properly. So keep the thickness pretty much the same, but you can make larger bread. Or you can just make 2 of them. That will be easier. So I hope you liked today's recipe. We'll give it a go. I mean, this bread is so gorgeous. Seriously, you have to try it. And follow me on Instagram if you haven't already. I post the food I eat and there's the recipes from this channel. So make sure you check out my Instagram. So thanks for hanging out with me today. I mean, it's a beautiful sunny day in London. It's quite rare, I'm telling you. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.